So this time we'll be looking at the more recent, well, the modern GSA. And we'll be starting off with Rick Tyler, the current Hourman. Rick first appears in Infinity Inc. number 20 back in 1985 during the Crisis on Infinite Earths. One thing I do have to say about this thing is that although I like the characters that came out in this wave, I do have to say that even within the line, that the way the characters look were so different. That was really off-putting. These are not actually my favorite DC Direct figures, even though they are some of my favorite characters. The older JSA characters, they look like they belong together. None of these guys look like they come from the same universe. See here, he's got this weird stance, sort of leaning forward but with bent knees, and he's got his weird, bizarre sculpt on his hand. Really kind of angry eyes. I just really don't like the way this figure was sculpted. He's got a nice kind of soft cape, but still it does make him back heavy. As for articulation, his arms do go all the way around. They go in and out, and they bend at the elbow. His legs go forward and back like that, and bend at the knee, and that's it. He does have a ball jointed head, so he can look up and down somewhat, as well as go side to side. He has the trademark Hourman hourglass. Pretty nice paint details. I do like the detail of his little hourglass controls on the gauntlets are there, both sides. Let's see, right there. Of course, his father is the original Hourman, Rex Tyler. His father was kind of an absentee father. Even though he's still there, he's kind of a workaholic and or too involved in being Hourman to really be there. But nonetheless, Rick grows up to be a very well-adjusted teenager. You know, really wanted to prove himself to his father. He's a pretty young kid of like maybe 18 or so, just heading into college at the time the Crisis on Infinite Earths happened. And he actually uses some of his dad's Miraclo to save the life of an intern of Dr. Charles McNider, Beth Chapel. Beth would eventually become Dr. Midnight after gaining powers of her own, and eventually Rick's girlfriend. Rex, who really wanted Rick to be free of the addiction that comes with using Miraclo, it didn't really approve of him becoming Hourman. Because he's the son of Rex Tyler, he's kidnapped by the Injustice Society. However, he escapes, but he believes that he's killed one of the Injustice Society's members, the Wizard. That turns out not to be the case, but he doesn't know that, and he's has a lot of guilt from it. So he doesn't feel like being Hourman anymore, and that's when the Justice League, who, if you recall from my other interviews, have spent some time in a limbo. They come back from that limbo. Rex and Rick kind of, again, try and rekindle their father-son relationship. And unfortunately, Rick contracts leukemia because of his use of Miraculo, which really doesn't make any sense because his father's been using a lot longer than he has. So, anyway, he contracts leukemia, and later on, his father is killed by Extant during 0 Hour. Beth Chapel, now Dr. Midnight, one word, Midnight, is killed by Eclipso. So things are looking pretty bleak for Rick, and that's when the android Hourman from the year 853, the 853rd century comes back in time. He cures Rick of cancer and actually gives him a couple of new powers. And those new powers are a sort of time vision where he can see 1 hour into the future. Then the other power, or gift, is an hour with his father. Because what the android has done is that right before Rex dies, he has taken Rex and bring him to this point where time doesn't exist. And he will have an hour before he has to go back into that exact moment where he gets hit by Extant and is killed. Rick becomes Hourman again, this time wearing this version of the costume, very more reminiscent of his father's costume, whereas his previous costume was just more like a purple and white costume. Really bad 80s costume. He kind of decides to take up the full mantle of Hourman, the legacy of Hourman. And he does still use Miraculo, or a form of Miraculo, for his hour of power. This time it is the non-addictive Miraculo. He is wounded in a battle, and in order to prevent him from dying, he trades places with his father in that little time bubble. So Rex comes back into the present, or time, and Rick is there to spend out the hour, and then we'll have to jump into Rex's place. Eventually what happens is that the android Hourman, who is gone back to the future, has come back to the past and helps the JSA go into the little time bubble that he's created where Rick is, and Dr. Midnight saves Rick, and Rex is about to go, and because the hour has been spent in that time bubble, and Rex is gonna go jump back to where he dies, but the android Hourman takes the place of Rex and is blasted by Extant and sacrifices himself. So now both Rex and Rick are alive and well in the present. Rick stays Hourman, and Rex retires, confident and proud in his son to carry on the legacy. And Rick then falls for his JSA teammate, Jesse Chambers, who later becomes his wife. Until my next review, so long.